Welcome to the podcast where relationships, confidence, and determination all converge into an amazing, heartfelt experience. This is Speaking from the Heart.
Welcome back to episode number 173 of Speaking from the Heart. And yes, I see you. I have seen you for the longest time, and you might be working behind the scenes, but for every single thing that you've been doing, I have seen every single piece of worth that you have brought to the table. As much as you think that you're not being seen, there are people that are being shown who you are, what you're capable of doing, and that hard work is paying off one step at a time. And for all those that work behind the scenes and keep on doing what you're doing, this episode is for you because I'm going to tell you today in this episode that it's all going to pay off in dividends upon dividends upon dividends. And not only are you going to be paid financially, but you're going to be paid with the biggest currency that we should all have in all the relationships, confidence, and determination that we're able to receive. It's about what you have been able to achieve, and that you're a shining influence for those that come of all the hard work that you're putting in now. Today's episode isn't about another set of coaching jargon or a recognition of who you are or becoming the best version of yourself. No. We're going to put that away for today. Instead, I want to work on all the things that you can do to stand out even if you're behind the scenes. Now, you might be asking yourself, that seems to be a little bit of a double entendre, Josh. How could you work on yourself, be out there, and people recognize you, but yet at the same time, you're working behind the scenes. You're constantly grinding, and no one's going to see who you are. Believe it or not, for the last 2 years of this business, I've been working behind the scenes. Myself, at my business, Your Speaking Voice LLC, has simply been about that. Slaving away in the office, creating content, working with people that helped me build my business, getting new contracts, new clients, and developing new content that will continuously expand not just what I offer, but also expand what you, my potential clients, could receive. But we're not here to sell you something today. Of course, this isn't about coaching. This isn't about recognition. We have to learn how we can check in with people, even with the things that we have going on in our lives, even with all the things that we're doing, so that we build those long-lasting relationships, that we're able to build on those hobbies, activities, and adventures that we want to go on. But more importantly, when we're grinding in the back, when we are in the back office trying to make something happen so that we can bring it alive to our world, we also have to learn that that back office work means that we also have to connect with each other, our audience for that matter. I think that we have to learn, especially as we grow in our businesses, even in our own selves, that we never forget who got us here in the first place. I can think of numerous people. I think about Gary, my very first coach, that helped me with just getting some of the things that I have off the ground, criticizing some of the things that I could do better, and even helping me with my own struggles. I have thought about even my old soccer coaches, Mr. Meals, Mr. Mole. Yes, they were literally their last names. But those people, even going through middle school, high school, really challenged my status quo of what it meant to be an athlete, which, let's face it, I wasn't too good at. I always played on the JV team. I didn't put in that hard work like I'm putting in the hard work now to try to build out myself. But when we think about all the coaches that we've had in our lives, whether there's sports, whether it's physical fitness related, whether it's for some sort of organizational activity, regardless of what it might be, just know that those people that are working behind the scenes, working really hard to get you to where you are at, I see you. We don't want to forget about you. We also don't want to forget about those that might be quietly working, waiting to emerge from the shadows to see what they are capable of bringing to the table. This episode isn't about time management either. We've talked about this in so many different contexts on previous shows, and I encourage you to go look back on my expansive catalog of podcast episodes that talk about time management, that talk about figuring out how it is that you can stand out in front of a crowd, even through public speaking. The episodes that will come after this will even speak more to those aspects and trying to challenge ourselves in this ever-changing world. But I really am focusing on solely what it means to be seen in the busyness that we call our lives. Of course, we can't look at it from just our own individual perspective. We have to look at all the different perspectives that we have. The most recent example of this is even looking at the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight, which regardless of what you think happened during that fight, whether it's an embarrassment or not to you, know this. It was a creative marketing ploy that got Mike Tyson back in the place that he deserves to be in, which is in the ring after all these years. As some people have put it, it's a creative marketing genius. It was such a ploy to get people to notice him again. And what creative ways would you ever be able to do that by getting somebody that is younger and also getting someone that's older, more experienced in the ring, going 8 rounds? Well, at least that was what was projected to be 8 rounds, and seeing them go head to toe. Remind you of a movie called Rocky Balboa, I'm sure. But even then, fictional or not, it was a marketing success. And that's really what this is about. Trying to find that one little idea, that one little niche that will get us into that marketing activity that we always wanted to do. How we were able to build ourselves above all the other noise that is around us so that we can be noticed. Because we can easily blend in. I know that even for my job, even where I've worked, I sometimes blend in amongst all the other people and all the other things that are being prioritized. We feel like we're just being squeezed in because they have all these other things that they have to do, and we're just a small little glimpse in their eye. I'm sure that all of us, one way or another, if we have been in an office setting or even on the factory floor, have been forgotten. The things that create our individuality. Maybe the car that we drive, maybe the family that we have raised, maybe even the sports, activities, hobbies, things of that nature might even help us with getting that connection. But yet, sometimes we're still forgotten. And I think that's why we have seen, even in the younger generation, Generation Z, and the emerging generation that will soon be named after that, have been really forgotten. They feel like they are being missed out. And this noise that we call the internet and social media, which I've even spoken to with many of my guests on this show, have even challenged the status quo of what that looks like. I think that when we are looking at what it is that we have to discover, what we have to really create, we have to also look at, is it just reaching to that general population? Are we just trying to find something that sticks and works and trying to exploit that? I think about the most successful commercial of all time, which ran many different types of commercials, which is MasterCard. If you think about all the different cards that you could think of, MasterCard stands out. Why? Because as a 90s kid growing up, I remember the commercials. Buying a plane, $400,000. Getting your grocery bill, $125. That was back then when it was really cheaper, mind you. Being able to spend family on the airplane, eating your groceries that you bought, priceless. That theme, that consistency of MasterCard was able to even be able to market themselves being an all-premier brand of all credit cards. And that still, after over 30 years, still sticks in my head. So how do we get people to remember us so that we can be remembered and being stuck in our head? Just like Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, all these other sports athletes. What do they build that really helps them to get to that next level? Well, in order to answer this question, we have to turn back to one of our original episodes that really kicked off this podcast, the only one that really explained about the values of my business and what is really important, building relationships, which was episode number 3 when we did this, which was aired on June of 2023. And I can't believe that we're now in the month of December talking about this again. In that episode, I talked about what it meant, its fundamental importance of building relationships. Relationships isn't just about giving and taking, which I talked about, but it was about building this foundation giving ourselves that ability to expand outside of our comfort zone and interact with each other. Because, after all, we are social by nature. And I talked about why it was so important for my business to build upon relationships, why it was so important for us, even for people that work amongst each other, to build a strategy that allows us to connect with each other. Because without relationships, none of the work that I do, even in my own coaching, would even be effective, even for myself, which, as a result of so much that has happened since June 2023, it has created opportunities because of these relationships that I've built that I would have never, ever been able to get to where I am today. But I think we have to remember that even when we're working in the back office, when we're toiling, trying to figure out what is it that next idea will be that will project us to that next level, we have to remember that it's about not just the details, not just the things that we put together, but who are the people that will notice us, that will remember us for what we've been able to give them. And that, in itself, ladies and gentlemen, is something we have forgotten in today's society. Sure, we always want to get a huge following, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. Some of the most top platforms, even TikTok for that matter, rely upon the ability for us to create this vision of what it means to have hundreds of millions of followers. Sure, that might be almost mathematically possible because of how many people are on the earth that have social media accounts. But you think about all the different countries that have restrictions on social media, being able to have the freedom to look up information. I won't mention those countries because obviously I'm not airing in those countries. But one of the things that we have to think about, especially when we talk about this subject, is if we're going to be noticed, if we're willing to be looked at in a positive light, if we want to be followed, we have to look at ourselves. What are we doing intentionally to create those relationships? Are we willing to step outside of our comfort zone, to meet new people, to see what they have as ideas, perspectives, thoughts, opinions? Are we willing to challenge the status quo of our own lives in order to attain that freedom, which we just literally had Valerie Rubin on the show sharing this? But yet at the same time, we have to learn about what is important in front of ourselves. What is it that we really want to work on so that we have those relationships that we can use, so that they know that we're just not using them? Please provide the opportunities for us so that we can create these activities, these engagements, these forethoughts. I think that if you can't figure out what it is that you are obviously needing to do, then maybe you might need to re-examine, maybe you need to refocus what it is that creates these engagements, these activities, if you will. I think that activities in themselves isn't about just being noticed by being on a TikTok video, maybe posting something on your Snapchat, maybe even doing a Facebook reel. What is really important about it, what is really an opportunity for us to explore and engage, is that we have to look at what is in front of us, what is available to us, especially as these relationships grow, but never forgetting what is behind us, what we're able to see, what we're able to do, what we're able to show. I think that part of this is really about an opportunity to figure out how we explore our lives, how we're able to demonstrate the creativity, and how we're able to prioritize what it is that we have to do for our business, for ourselves, but also what it means to engage with each other. Maybe it's a month-to-month call that we have. Maybe we touch base every once in a while. Maybe it's about prioritizing all these different things that we're able to utilize. Maybe the things that we're trying to do, what we're trying to change, is that we are really looking at what it means, what it is that we have to explore in those relationships, which means we have to spend time, even behind the scenes, to look at what it is that we're trying to do, what we're trying to create. But yet, I know that for us, especially me, that if we're able to build those relationships and we stay consistent with them, that is when change will happen. That is when we have that following. That is when we start to be noticed. I think that we overhype social media and many other platforms because we think that all the different gurus, and sometimes we call them gurus, although they might not be, often overlook one important thing. It's the connection that we have with each other. It's about having that personal one-on-one conversation that leads to that word of mouth. That's why, even in the days of college, even when I'm sitting on those hard metal back chairs, my professors would always say that the most effective marketing tool that you could ever have at your disposal isn't just about the products that you use or giving testimonials. It's about the word of mouth, because people talk to each other. We are social creatures. With all that said, just know that being heard and being consistent is something that I really, truly enjoy with everything that I do. And I couldn't say that at one point in my life, so it takes practice. It might mean getting in front of a mirror, especially when you're trying to speak publicly, to feel a little bit more comfortable. I get it. It's challenging yourself and your status quo and realizing and discovering that in this process, you're trying to figure out what it means to have the right messaging, to connect with your audience. But even as we go through these things, even as we're trying to be heard, I want you to know that that work that you're doing, I see you. And if you need that extra lift, I'm here for you. But this episode isn't about coaching. Of course it isn't. I said that already. But I will say this to you. If this episode isn't about giving you coaching advice, giving you tips, giving you tricks, and it's just simply acknowledging that I see you, then just remember that all it takes is just one person to talk to another group of people, to talk then to another bigger group of people, which then becomes a compounding effect, not just for your life, but for your business as well. If we can be seen, even without the power of social media, without all the constant tasks and meetings that we have to prioritize, if we're able to squeeze in our time management duties, the ability to connect with others in our relationships, trust me, not only will you be seen, but you will be heard. It isn't just a bunch of jargon or a bunch of things that we're trying to dance to in our TikTok videos, but yet we're able to see for ourselves the vast opportunities that exist. If you're willing to put yourself out there and be noticed in a way that you thought you would never be noticed, all because you were able not just to become the best version of yourself, but to see yourself in a completely different way that you never thought possible, because you deserve to be noticed. Thanks for listening to episode number 173 of Speaking from the Heart, and I look forward to hearing from your heart very soon.
Thanks for listening. For more information about our podcast and future shows, search for Speaking from the Heart to subscribe and be notified wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit us at www.yourspeakingvoice.biz for more information about potential services that can help you create the best version of yourself. See you next time.